All right. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Welcome to the AHA seminar series. This is the seminar to focus on AI and human flourishing. The speaker today is actually someone that I'm really excited to listen to. Chae is the award-winning director and also founder of ARIA Studio, which is a creative collective for virtual entertainment studio pioneering emotional intelligence and storytelling. I first met Chuck at the Busan Film Festival, I think last year, and then later we met at the Busan AI Film Festival, which is a two different thing. There's a Busan Film Festival and Busan AI Film Festival. Chuck is recognized by all the big film festival, from Venice Film Festival, Cannes Film Festival, Golden Horse, Hong Kong Film Awards, and more. Shark also lead the development of AI-powered character IP and immersive narrative, and also a virtual K-pop idol, which is really, really cool. In this September, actually, he will premiere Apartment in the Realm of Ripley, which is the world's first AI-powered interactive film in commercial theaters in partnership with major global cinema chain, making a really significant milestone for intelligent entertainment. And Chuck also had come to the Media Lab and have seen some of our work, and we are very excited to see your work and listen to your amazing presentation and be inspired by your vision of how AI and cinema could coexist in the future. So with that, I'll turn over to you, Chuck. We're excited to listen to you.
Hi.
Do you want to go to full
Yes.
screen first? Yeah.
Yes. Let me just do that.
Awesome. The screen is yours. The floor is yours, Chuck.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. If I do go over time, please let me know. Here, I'll just queue up the video real quick.
It's an experience that's going to change with your voice, and the choice is you make. Open the door. Open the door. Open the door. Open the door.
어떤 선택도 하지 않으셨다고요?
Is it really a murder?
The face of his dad.
I mean, you are a child.
A vivid and imaginary world to escape into.
It's because
The room where the crime had taken place, he hated his
human nature to want connection with other.
자신들의 원기억을 기반으로 자신만의 가상세계에서 살아가게 됩니다. 단 자신들이 가상세계에 있다는 것을 인지하지 못한 채로 기증자가 스스로를 자신이라고 부르지 못할 때 나는 그 사람을 어떻게 불러야 할지 혼란스럽다.
오늘 여러분이 느낀 이 감정은 결코 가상이 아니었기를 바랍니다.
Goodbye now.
All right. Let me just skip through. Did everyone heard the? Could hear the audio?
Yes, everything worked great.
Okay. Thank you. Apartment in Realm of Ripley. I'll just start with this project since this is the main subject matter that I'm trying to discuss. Human to computer interactions. I think this is the new experiment that we're doing using cinema or storytelling device to that is in a traditional format and mixing it with the AI. And we've been doing a lot of experiments mixing computer into a theater, because obviously the computer does take inputs. It's not an MOV anymore.
Sorry, do you want to go in full screen? It's still.
Oh, I can see yeah, sorry. I'm just for the order, I just couldn't remember everything that I
No worries.
mentioned. So from the old days of a theater where you had to go for find a storyteller, we're using a platform, and it's kind of fascinating how the past came along, that changed how our life came about today. But then we have these now, with the AI driven chatbots and things, and I'm really looking forward to see what's going to come after. If we look back in the past, where how the theater was using the same light bulb and electricity from back in the day, other than the factory, using computers for a defense system, but at the same time as an art tool. A lot of a comparison could come from the past days, and we had Sora moment, where it could we are creating cinematic experience, trying to mimic what was happened in the past, with the VO3 and everything. It's turning into a more automatic process to create more AI videos and everything. But what's going to come after these period? How it's going to be saturating our online space with the AI generated contents and everything. What's the good value that we should be maintaining? And one of the case that I was really fascinated was interactivity, interactive with the computer basically. And there's so many different projects you probably remember from Netflix, Bandersnatch, or Detroit Become Human, but all of these storytelling matter comes from the very old days of even 1960s interactive film. They were using two different projectors to project a different path to entertain the audience. We can make everything very complicated with the human minds and everything, but with the come along with Transformers, and we are seeing a new possibility with the storytelling. In the apartment in Realm of Ripley, we're mixing with the two different mediums for the showcase of a VR and 2D interactivity driven with the AI. And so I still think everything that happened before generative AI was all reactive contents. And one of the things that we're doing now is we're mixing everything with AI agents, with a compound AI approach, with the traditional storytelling. And of course, with the virtual entertainment, we realize that the fandom activity is a key factor for driving this interactivity. Also, it also depending on the cultural aspect as well. I was very heavily inspired by Mr. Crawford's approach of where our interaction is the true interactivity is how we're affecting the main story plot by communicating with the character. And also the universal character model from the USC, where we are recognizing our user or the audience as one of another character
simple creation that
I've been throughout my career, I've been trying to create more mimicry of the visual representation of a human being. So instead of so a lot of using computer graphics and then VFX field. But it's been taking a lot of manual labor, and then these the AI tech came along. We've been doing some experiments, and this has become the main pipeline behind the virtual human Rhea Kim
a songwriter and DJ, and today I'm so excited to be showing you some of the latest.
What's really important is today we're not really here. I'm not really here to talk about the AI and aspect, but I want to show you what has been driving us to here. Human creating another human is definitely a very challenging task. We're not trying to become God or anything, but trying to tell the story through a different mediums that is collectively building a whole universe, or the memory that lingers within you. So we feel like it's existing somewhere. So with the virtual human projects, I just realized that we have to make this in more real time, so people could interact with it. And interact means our physical self and the digital self is recognizing each other.
Yeah.
And
developed by
one of
ARIA
the things that we've been
Studios,
doing is
making her a charming virtual
creating
character who can naturally
virtual,
interact with people
the
regardless of
AI
time and
driven
space.
VTubers.
A global pop
And
culture exhibition
what I
in
realized
August
is the fandom
2023,
community
where she
is
demonstrated
huge
real-time interaction with visitors
with this
and received
type of genre. We might call it a subculture, but now it's huge in Korea and Japan. And with our virtual character Bona, she's currently driven by the shadow actor, but she has agreed to do more generative AI aspect of creating a few character aspects. We have more characters coming up that is fully driven by AI, and it's been a quite challenge for us to create a lovely persona that remembers you and act as a human being, but still be able to. Sorry.
I think the audio when you play the clip is like very loud. We cannot hear you talk at all.
Gotcha. Let me just down.
Thank you. So sorry.
Oh, no problem. So with this virtual characters, our not that they're only dominating some of the culture aspect, but they're actually helping us with the more interactivity. So with the virtual characters coming up, it's actually it actually we're using a character as an interface. I would just say that. I've been a huge fan of Alfred Whitehead's process philosophy. If we do break down the story aspect, it consists of character, event, and the world. In storytelling, when it comes to game design or VFX, we're creating a huge world where the character and the events and they collide to make the drama. But now with the interactivity, the process of this interaction becomes part of the storytelling. So in the process, we exist. So this drama is not captured by the video, but it's actually us spending that time and within that same space, and that therefore we're creating an existence within this drama. It's very similar to what we've been doing offline back in the day, with the theme parks and all. One of the projects we had a user writing a name, introducing a name to the character, and then after the whole adventure is done, this character remembers the user's name. It's a very simple mechanic, very simple technique. But after the fact that we are giving each other something that is signifying the memory of each other in a virtual space, we both exist from the off-screen and also inside the screen. With the generative AI turning this real-time process getting closer, we've been pondering many different ideas, and I'm coming from the cinema and the VR world that we decided to put these things together. And this is how the Ripley project came along. We had this concept of using the AI to drive the interactive film. So back in 2022, we created this short film where the audience are using a messenger to send a message to the main character inside the movie to make the plots go in a diverse direction. And then we experimented with the speaking at the screen. And this has become a very interesting experience. And then now I look at some of the examples today, like for instance, this film has been hiring interactive actor and actually a live audience member involving into cinema space. And I guess they're trying to bring out their experience out of the screen and trying to battle what's been happening right now in the current state. Because the current state we're living in, I mean, this is the perfect metaverse we're living in right now. And this is the emotionally driven computer human interaction interface. But back in the day, with this good films like these, this is a scene from a brainstorm where we're connecting brain memories into a computer, and they're able to, sell each other's memories and to live someone else's life and everything. A lot of desires coming from human being is coming along. These desires actually drive some of the innovations that we see. Sometimes the tech helps to pull the art come along, and sometimes art drives the technology. But then looking at the past, we are looking at the same patterns of a human being, even though the computer is changing every day, AI is changing every day. But then there are some of the fact that we should consider is what's actually helping us to exist. And this is a demo. I wish I could show this in a very lengthy demo, but this is a real-time animation. Here, let me see if I can skip this. Here. So this is a demo of where I'm actually interacting with the virtual character within the space. Some of us might think of it as just like another game NPC, but in this storytelling format where we have characters remembering you, and then we are awarding the audience with the narrative, it's a totally different storytelling and a different algorithm to take on. And these characters are driven by LLM, or I would say SLAM more like, because it's actually creating actions to drive the animation. And these, of course, transcend some of the media formats like VR or the mobile space. But at the same time, our colleague has been doing some experiments. We're working on the latency issue right now, but this is another cool experiment that we just did. Is that we're turning into a multimodal character, so where it recognizes the vision and the integrating into the storytelling. Some of the thing that we're trying to do now is transmedia, platform storytelling, where we could have computer as a character as an interface, where it understands you by emotionally using a memory techniques, and then able to connect with the different platform and services that we're aware of. One of the things, as you saw in the Realm of Ripley audience demo, I just realized there's so many different cultural differences from America, Europe, or in Asia. And one of the things that we're trying to battle for is that sometimes people are very comfortable talking to AI, but instead of being alone, it's better to express, because we're not just taking information, we output a lot, and we need someone to be a mirror for them. And one of the interesting thing was, I thought the Koreans are very reserved, but they're not. When it comes to the online space, they're super hyperactive, and this is one of the things that we did is the audience members are participating the quiz show, and then it's driving the national broadcast on cable TV where we put our AI characters in, and it's creating a live interactive show with the massive live audiences. I'm skipping through some of the old cinema aspect of storytelling here that we could refer to. A lot of interface design that we're thinking, because we're using movies as an interface currently. They are driving a grammar from very old films. One of the important factors is that we need character to realize, and they need to break the fourth wall. We're not just talking about looking directly into your screen to break the fourth wall, but recognizing the current space around the character that are whether in fiction or nonfiction. And there are then other examples of audience involvement within this flat screen and with a communal experience. And there are many different types of interaction to one-to-N type of interactions that we could bring the audience to speak up. And one of the things that we're battling with the designing is how to make them speak in front of everyone in the social group. And would you want to do that? And turning interactivity into choose your own adventure is a very tiring process, because we make choices every day and we don't want to do that in a paid entertainment. But expressing yourself and thought as using movie as a mirror to reflect on yourself is a different thing. And then audience members, we realize they do speak their heart out. Sometimes they become another personality online, but when it comes to speaking out, using your physical embodiment with the different people, they do speak up in some more sincerity, which help us to collect the actual audience preferences and their likes. And we are using this for some of the marketing events that we're doing. One of the things that we're doing also is we have created a fictional website from the movie. This is a laboratory homepage where people could explore the story space, but they also could create their own clips by having after the fact of using being an audience member of the movie. So it's a near real-time episode generation. So after the interaction in some points, it will generate new clips, and then we have a new different storytelling that involves you as a part of the creator within this universe. So the three keywords that we're using here is very simple: time, space, and existence. Without these three, our project cannot exist. I was very amazed by the spatial temporal reasoning approach when it comes to this generative AI video aspect, and they do have these three keywords. And then we have a new game engine with the generative AI they're experimenting right now. I'm really excited for them to come out, but will it be interactive enough for us to not just to replace our older technology, but to actually create something new experience? Right now, we're starting from traditional aspect. We want to bring people off the screen to the offline for more communal experience by using AI-driven cinema experience. One of the other thing is not just cinema, but live a survival show that we want to bring in, involving our live actors, but able to people to vote and betting together in the offline space, and of course, connecting with the online as well. So we're streaming online, connecting at the same time. They will be given, each members will be given an audience avatar where they could be part of the story. And these type of storytelling is also being worked on right now. And this is one of the experiments that we're doing right now with the multi-agent approach, where you could have more different NPCs they are generating and autonomously helping the story, creating the story world, and able to guide the audience members. Let me just skip through some of the things. And then we have a very complex prompt approach for visual aspect for the artists to follow, because we're not everyone has the AI knowledge or development background. So we're helping the artists to create their own aspect by using a different approach of a multimodal aspect. And these also are experimented within this film as well. As you saw in the early diagram, that people could express themselves, and it helps to create the story puzzles as a video clips. So we do believe a good story experience transcends boundaries, whether it's a platform or different medium or different culture. We believe this is the power that is driven by more human emotions that actually helps to drive this innovation. Our virtual character, Abona, had a show in the theater, and this is actual live audience member reactions. And I thought the Koreans are very quiet and reserved, but no, when it comes to find their, loved characters and whatnot, they do interact, they do speak up in real time in theaters. A little secret sauce behind the show is that we also had theater watching them. So we had the vision sensors also helps to understand, helps to talk to our virtual character, and also shadow actors, that there are theaters reacting this way or that way. People are not looking, they're not interested, they're excited, and things like that. So the AI as a mirror, when it comes to this, we have to make good stories as a driving factor, but we have to leverage a new technology. We shouldn't be so crazy about the new tech coming up, but how to use it, why we should use it. But we're using AI, or in this case, a cinema as a reflection, as an active agent so we could have people to interact and with more emotionally connected together and also socially as well. And for this, what I think is really important is the totality, is to basically maintain who you are, and using AI as a mirror. I believe there's a way that you could be very true to yourself, and by expressing, and during this process we exist. Just a simple background here is that I've been brought up in Florida, spent my majority of my school days in here. And in Florida, as you know, there's so many different theme parks, and I was lucky enough to meet my mentor, Professor Stapleton from MCL and UCF, and that was my first project other than filmmaking. They were looking for film students work on this new Army simulation. I didn't know it was going to be a military simulation, but it was very interesting, and how interactivity really affected. And every time when I was working off campus, I was a tour guide, helping our tour guests coming from Korea to many different theme parks, and I was able to observe how the audience members or theater attendants are experimenting. And some of the experience that we see, because we are very used to become behind this screen, we become very reserved and everything. But sometimes it's always good to express yourself and bring yourself out, and using movie traditional format as a medium, but we're turning them into more interactivity that actually creating contents that remembers you is the key factor that we want to have. This technology mixed with this art could actually bring people closer and able to define themselves more. I was involved in 120 different cinema projects over the last 20 years from a VFX background and immersive interactivity, using VFX as the visual aspect as in a cinema space. But I've truly find it more powerful and retaining aspect of maintaining a longer period of relationship sometimes to utilize this memory of and also the lingering within the temporality, and I definitely believe in that power to keep us exist and alive. Still looking for different ways to do it in a better way. Perhaps using a biosensor and connecting to your brain directly, and perhaps this could be part of the future of storytelling. But even though we could dream in and having our experience to be digitally to transmit to each other, without this the right interactivity and the ways to do this in the right storytelling, what good is the technology if our medium grammar has not been established enough to use this embrace this technology in the full potential? So yes, so we are still progressing, and hopefully the Realm of Ripley project will be a very interesting milestone for us to start this, and not only the cinema space, but on the online streaming space. We're hoping the interactive virtual character and this culture of people interacting and exchanging each other could not only happening in the online space, but hopefully in the offline, connecting to offline space as well. Perhaps these diagram could be different and in the near future, where we're not only living in the online space, but also we could be in the physical to recognize each other. Okay, well that's everything. Am I good on time, by the way?
Yeah, thank you so much, Shark. This is really fascinating. I think one thing that before we open for Q&A, you mentioned the project in the Realm of Ripley. I mean, I've seen it when I was in Korea, but I think for most of the audience, I think maybe you can provide a little bit of context, because I think it's a really fascinating project. Like, what was the premise of the story? And you mentioned how you integrate different sort of technology to make the content more dynamic and interactive. But maybe can you talk a little bit more, because it's a really fascinating project? Yeah.
Thank you. Just to highlight, and basically the story takes place in the year 2080, where the technology is still going mature enough to embrace the human brain memory into a computer. And this lab is facing a little difficulty with the trust aspect of from the people. And so they as they're being funded by the government, they are rediscovering, trying to find the solve the murder mystery from 2009 by going inside of one of the witnesses' memory, and that is the 80-year-old boy Shihak. He was found nearly dead on site. But they were managed to freeze his brain to bring his memory back. The only thing is he could only remember his apartment, his residence that he lived in, and all the other neighbors that lives among them. And we are, as an audience member, we were invited as a volunteer for this project to be part of the experiment. And then, but you've been guided by a AI nurse called Ari, and Ari she also guides you, but at the same time, she's guiding the whole experience altogether. But there's a little twist in the end that is kind of entertaining, very entertaining, and
you don't need to spoil. You don't need to spoil.
okay.
Yeah.
What we realize is though is the She-Hulk has a Ripley syndrome, meaning whatever the lie that he say become reality in this virtual world. So they're having a hard time in the investigation. So our audience member has to find what is the truth, and then try to find the true murderer behind this. Yes, so that's the premise. And
yeah, can you talk a little bit about the experience? Like, I think was really, really powerful to see. But can you talk a little bit about what is the participant doing in the process? You showed this at the Venice Film Festival, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So this is the first time premiering. I mean, right now the UI and everything is better. But back in that time, we were experimenting with over 2,500 people participating in this experience. Each time the show is different because the audience members are invited to not only choose with their voice activated aspect, but then they are able to read after the lines to follow, and they are asked to become part of the character experience, to embrace the emotion of the character. But the main thing is the choices they make also affect the VR player in the experience. So they're sometimes they become the player or the victim, I would say. But their job is to collect different evidences from the VR world and come back so they can have a story experience and puzzling, piecing the puzzles together. This is a scene where the AI character is moderating the whole the conversation. So they are sometimes more confused, but some are explained as they share more personal stories. Some people are very brave enough to share their very intimate moments in front of the audience, and they do. It does bring out different reactions and outcomes, and sometimes even after the movie, people doesn't leave the theater. They want to have the after the fact discussion in the theater with total strangers. I was really happy to see that, but yeah, and then what's interesting is after every time the show is over, we refine tune our LLM based on the audience reactions, and so we try to come up with more favorability of and trying to predict how the audience will react, and there are similar patterns. For instance, there's one moment where audience members are asked to open the door or leave it closed. If you open the door, you could see the murderer behind the door, but you might also kill the current VL volunteer inside the experience. And sadly enough, we mostly find a lot of audience members still open the door anyways to see what's happening. And the thing is, some people are very guilt on a guilt trip, not able to make that choices and things like that. And then we found many different ways to find the different personality, personal traits coming from the audience members. And we've been using algorithms where the more stronger voice is recognized, but at the same time, the collective voice helps to recognize the reactions better. And so we're using percentages of the audience member choices to drive the experience.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
My last question for you before I open up for the audience is you also work on the virtual character, which I think is a really controversial technology right now because it could lead to addiction, it can lead to people become over reliant on it. But I think the way that you talk about it, like even in the cinema project, is that you want this to sort of facilitate human interaction.
이제 연기 테스트를 해볼 거야.
Is to help people, develop better mental health. Could you talk a little bit about sort of your consideration or what is the sort of the design principle that you have when you design this entertaining character that in the context of cinema? Yeah.
Well, the first thing is the every time we're looking into something, we want to be somewhere else. Sometimes we want to relive ourselves. Currently, we're not really maybe happy with the current present ourselves, with the environment maybe. This is the reason why we want, whenever we want to escape, we utilize different media, storytelling medium to transcend ourselves to a different world, to fictional world. And sometimes the imagination of fiction, we mostly run out of time to immerse ourselves into our imagination these days. Of course, there are people reading books every day and trying to spend their quiet time to try to communicate with themselves, but some are not. It's very oversaturated. More sociable you are, more exposed to many internet and media traumas you are, and I find the having the perfect mirror of yourself or someone listening to you, having the little dependency on your side, they can also rely on too. That it's not just the chatbot or the text aspect, but what if there's another persona or maybe your companion, the level of a social level that you could also decide on, but up to the level of the equal presence of a companion. I'm really hoping it helps to the users to think and also try to emotionally connect, but able to that act of speaking or thinking or that embodiment of interaction could also helps to the person that we are actually doing something. If you're not doing something, you're pretty much dead. You're not existent anymore. There are, many different terminologies like if you, your existence are not there if someone's not remembering you and things like that. If you don't linger in someone else's memory, maybe we're not existent anymore. And within this interactive process, even the very simple thing of pressing buttons or even speaking, say hello, still helps us to define our existence
But Chuck, but don't you think that if people interact with this, they would not interact with the other human, and then you would not linger in anyone in someone else's memory? No, like it's kind of seems like it go against what you were talking about, that these characters sort of taking away the human interaction, isn't it? Or how do you think about that?
Yes, I mean this is one of the experiment that we're also going along here is I was really intrigued at the fact that when I was visiting MIT, I saw a very interesting project where the AI agents to have their own social bonding moment, and I thought it would be a very interesting approach to have a agent to communicate, to able to express each other's existence, and hopefully that could be part of the different agents. We're actually at the stage of where we're not just active with the AI agents, but we're hoping this to be part of the bring up the people with the they're kind of practicing uh, uh, to able to communicate before standing in front of the real human being is one of the things. The biggest challenge I found was this. Basically, I mean, it's very shameful, but it is true. And I'm really really struck by these facts that the people are not speaking out with a very conservative with the relationship and things like that. And I'm really hoping
But do you think with the AI, is it getting better or getting worse? Like I also, I really appreciate that you mentioned that statistic, but with the type of AI system that you build, do you think it's like contributing positively or negatively toward that statistic?
well, I'm really hoping this be positive, of course, because the one of the thing is that we're bringing in some of the escapism for people to interact with the another physical self, but and then using this as a mirror. We always been using different agents as a mirror. Even a pebble rock could be a pet for someone, you
Right.
know, and but then with this AI, I mean, AI is, I think it's always getting better, but it's the fact of how we think of it and to use it. But my point was basically in order for us to feel the right existence, sometimes we are like existing in the current space, but sometimes we're not, even in our imaginary space. And I'm just hoping the computer could aid this and hopefully maybe in the future and guide us to in a way of creating a different existence from whether it's an imagination or in a physical self or in a different physical medium. And that physical medium could be, I was hoping this could be cinema storytelling. We're learning a lot of lessons from movie that's been last for 120 years, creating a different grammar using from lens. But then as we are communicating with different each other after the movie's done, or maybe in online, that type of interaction also makes this movie alive and this fictional alive. And the people could actually live within that. I mean, for instance, the Star Wars, Star Wars trilogy and the whole universe. It became the oldies now but from the 1970s, people are still enthused about, and they're Disney. They recently shut down, but then, they're like story living projects, and they're doing everything to bring us out of the reality to reflect ourselves better, so we can exist the right way today.
Totally.
And I believe this approach could also help the audience member in that way. So because not everyone's fortunate enough to go to Disney World.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Chuck. I think now we can open to the audience if they have any question. I mean, Chuck had showed us many interesting projects. If you have any question or comment, please raise your hand, and we will invite you to speak. Or you can also type your question in the chat as well, and I can also moderate that. Yeah. Okay, we have the first question from Isabel. Thank you for this presentation. It was really interesting. When you think about typical movie theater experience today, it's pretty quiet, and viewers are actually typically discouraged from chatting out loud. What do you see may be necessary to introduce a new shift in viewing behavior among theater goers? Do you foresee any unexpected reaction, maybe even hesitation or aversion as viewer experience of a film become more communal than it may be currently? Or do you see this shared experience conducive to what the film viewing experience should be?
Thank you. Thank for the great question. By the way, that's been the dilemma that we've been facing for the last many years that we're working on this. From lean back audience to lean in. Not only that, but we're looking into a more society approach as well. But unfortunately right now, the theaters are dying, as you know. A lot of film theaters are they're selling off and they're closing down, and it's not a good thing. But what's but I think you also answered it here, is that we believe this approach could be this viewing experience could be more communal than what's currently. As you saw the Minecraft TikTok videos of audience reaction right now, if you really love the storytelling but with the different people, it's more fun. And we had this experience. It's very old storytelling, by the way, from back in, I mean, 2,500 years ago with the drama theater space. They're using technique called the dramaturgy, where audience members could affect the storytelling as part of the production, and that evolved into immersive theater or interactive play, where audience members are invited to be part of the story experience in front of the live audience with the live actors and everything. We're just using AI to replace live actors. That's what we're doing within the story space. But there are still more storytelling aspect to be involved, because we're currently living in a society where theaters are dying, but at the same time, the online space is flourishing with the different platforms and many different storytelling aspects, including streamers. With the virtual streamers from Twitch or any other platforms out there, not only using a virtual entertainers, but actual live action streamers. They're playing the games and we're watching them playing the games, but we're at the same time interacting with the chat and everything. And that could be a great one for the one-to-one experience. But for offline space, it's when we are together, these three rules also does act out a lot. Is the audience member want to be seen if they are in a public offline space, and they want to be part of something. They always want to be associated somewhere, and then they want to do something other than holding their phone. They could do that at home, but when you're out of home, those three rules always apply, and we want to create the experience that could do that. There are different franchises out there like COSM or Spheres in Las Vegas, where you're surrounded by LEDs and people are drinking and eating and watching this experience together. But it's not the visual aspect that to drive them, but it's the interaction aspect that we could actually look into the same thing and talk to each other to share our thoughts together. And that's what the interactive should be. Not only like what I can dictate the film plot, because sometimes the film, just like the book, it should be locked. For the survival of the story, we have printed out on the paper, but then it's been stuck that way. But on the online space, it transforms all the time. But sometimes it's good to maintain that story. Not everyone could be Iron Man, but maybe some people could be a friend of Iron Man. So I mean, there's different aspect of storytelling, but yes, as for your answers, this using offline space should transform. The theater chains are changing into a different multi-cultural LBE aspect instead of just the movie theater itself. And I believe this type of experience could evolve from online and offline space.
Great. Oren, do you want to say something?
Hello, thank you for the lovely talk. I was thinking about the nature of creative exploration and how I feel like it's deeply valuable to us as human people, but it's also something that I feel like at least in the US, the culture doesn't really emphasize or appreciate. Do you think that this is something that more fundamentally that we have to change from, I don't know, education or at a more societal level, rather than at the art level of like creating these media?
Oh, wow. Well, good question. Goodness. All right. Well, I didn't really think of that level, that aspect, but there's more energy to drive people other than the addiction, and that's the goal we're trying to find in. what defines addiction? I mean, why is it so sound negative, you know? But then at the same time, if we're addicted to something that is positive, such as a fandom, if you're a fan of something that is good, it's not harming anybody, but you're loving something, and that loving something means also loving yourself in a reflection. Making something to people to love something and drive them into the energy of something other than going to school, do homework and other assignment that doesn't feel like it's, you know, I don't need algebra to live my life, you know, like we don't have to use trigonometry lessons to that type of people. But if they are driven by something that is they love, I believe that could bring in very good energy from people to change something and approach something differently.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, I think that if I could do a quick follow-up, I feel like the idea of just using these creative tools and these new interactive formats to help people introspect more and like understand themselves, I think that would be, I guess, that would be amazing. Thank you.
Well, but you're speaking at MIT. There are a lot of people that might enjoy trigonometry, actually. So, yeah, maybe that's you know, people can be a fandom of trigonometry as well. So
yes, yes, that's right.
okay, two more questions. So maybe you can answer both of them together. So one is from D. What a wonderful thought-provoking work. Thank you for sharing with us. What are some unanticipated challenge you experience in your creative journey with these projects? So that was one question. Another question is, you know, any thought on using interactivity to develop and improve the collective conscience in society? Yeah.
Using the interactivity to to develop, improve. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for your questions. Unanticipated challenges. Oh man, a lot of things. Yeah. Well, okay, for instance, in a very close site, our team consists of AI developers, VFX, CG animation, live broadcast, game developers, server developers, and also actors and A&R artists. All these collectives, all is coming together with a different discipline under same goal. I mean, this is something I'm pretty sure Media Lab is facing every day. You have to convince people that things are there that you can't really see. Even though it's written in a document, they don't really feel it. In order to give them the experience and describing that before it existed is the biggest challenge I see. And also that also relates to investors, theater chains and platform providers, any other players, especially number one A-list players are such a pain in the butt because they're good at what they do and what they maintain, but it's really hard for them to open up and to do different risk. They do want to stay in the comfort zone. Well, they don't want to accept it as a comfort zone, but to defend their domain, it's really hard to accept the new things and different challenges. But I met some good people who are open to this. They could also maybe afford 40% of the risk under their power or something like that. And so we could talk about many different challenges and different innovation experiments. And yeah, I mean, one failure could also lead into a trust issue, and there's no more second coming back. And we're facing that every day. So we're trying to be very careful with what we're trying to present and do. And also there are different challenges. This is the first time where I mean, for my personal experience, this first time is seeing many different interactions in real time like this, and it's scary. We've seen people talking crap online, Rotten Tomatoes with like all this, like they become another director of the film by talking crap about the film and how they didn't like it, how should do this and that. But getting that reflection in real time, it becomes really scary. But at the same time, we see another side of the human being. That become a challenges because even that happens, we have to love the audience and turn them into a hero. So because we're entertainment, we're kind of like a glorified AI circus, if I make that representation right. And for that, it's really sad, but at the same time very happy, because that hatred energy is also meaning they are interested. Even though they're not making choices, that is the choice they're making. And for that type of any positive, negative interactions or no interaction at all becomes their choices, and that turns into interaction. And then getting all that data all at the same time onto a single film experience is challenging. And because we're not a platform service provider, so looking at all the database coming in and looking at the DB, sometimes we're monitoring something, and it's very challenging. And we're trying to come up with the different algorithms or approach how to turn that, or maybe we need more than just text data to actually come up with the real each individual's reactions from which scenes they have acted this, like, make that choices, how we provoke their thinking by using this scene or that scene. That scene that played in 5 minutes ago that reflects on them now as they linger in their memory, looking at this current scene, how they have changed, shifted the audience attitude from 5 minutes ago to 15 minutes later is another thing. I'm really hoping to use another AI to come up with the analysis on that, to see how we're changing every time with the emotional journey we're taking them through using a film experience. So yeah, those are the challenges, and using the interactivity to improve the collective social conscious in society. Yes. This is something that's out of the film grammar, because it's really hard to embrace all this energy into a single story experience. And we're really hoping we have to make them seen. Everyone wants to be seen and be part of something, and they want to do something, just like we are right now in the Zoom. I'm not just another agent guy inside the screen anymore, because we are exchanging. So we currently exist somewhere off the East Coast and in Korea, and we do confirm our existence through this experiment of interactivity. But we have to be massively somehow able to reflect it and show to everyone that we are thinking the same. And this not just part of the this great umbrella of the MIT's AHA's opportunity that is given, but out of that community, another community should be connected, and there has to be, I'm pretty sure there's some way, and maybe a very smart person will figure out a way to meticulously weave that together. And that's such a big, massive aspect. I'm still thinking every number that outside of my 10 fingers is a big number. But I'm pretty sure the AI or another smart person will come up with the billions and trillions of ways to come up with the it's not a coincidence we met today. We talk about this. Maybe there's a pattern for it and everything. And if that proves, then I'm pretty sure society will care. Instead of someone else will do it, someone else differently. Blah, maybe yourself also counts too. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shad. That was really encouraging. Yeah, and then we have one last comment, just to be respectful of everyone's time. The last comment is from Juan Kim. Throughout your projects, have you encountered a specific moments or aspect where you realize that AI simply cannot replicate authentic human social bonding? I'm curious about what you discover are irreplaceable elements of the human connection.
Oh, yes.
I think it's a good question to end with. Yeah.
Oh, yes. I mean, very hard questions too. Very hard questions. Everything is irreplaceable, I would say. Because I mean, if you could define human connection, everything is through the medium as we speak. Even though the first thing that you see when you're born, you say mom or daddy, you're speaking up, you're using your voice as a medium to connect and recognize each other. But what is replaceable elements is I think it's the temperature, smell, touch, tactile issue, those things. That doesn't require medium to connect. Everything that we've been doing now, you're in your room or somewhere in your office looking at a screen, listening to my voice, looking at the video, a representation of me, doesn't do human connection 100%. And even with the AI trying to replicate what human can do, I mean, maybe at this stage we're just starting now, but maybe hopefully one day every human on Earth, I mean, even though only 60% or less are now the internet users globally. So unless we have everyone's pattern studied by the AI, just like our interactive cinema to one-to-N ratio, maybe 40% people are not happy with the choices made in the 60% audience member did. We're just following the majority. Perhaps in the future, we're able to embrace everyone's choices into making some other direction for everyone to agree together. So yeah, I mean, it's currently everything is irreplaceable for human connection. I think it is mimicking and replicating a really good thing of a basic logics of everyday aspect that we see. We believe it's there, like voice and vision, and a very basic logic of say hello and do this and get mad, angry, sad, those like 9 different emotions and everything. I mean, they're there to program, but it doesn't really quite replace everything with the human connections. And we also have to think about the time as well. Like 1 hour ago when you saw me, and now 1 hour later, now you see me, you have a different connection and level of expectation with me and with Pat also. And that temporal existence also matters to human connection. So, and for this interactive cinema, we're using another LLM to give them a timer, since one LLM cannot remember the time of duration, a dwell time of the audience. But even that is just mimicking. It's not really, replicating the biochemical reactions over time. When we're hungry, we're desiring this. No, it's none of that. Desire for human connection and loneliness and love and all this thing, I cannot comprehend, but yeah, I mean the level of technology that I'm using and the approach and our team is doing, I mean, they're doing a great job, by the way, but with the level that we're at right now, none of it is replacing human connection.
That's great to hear. Thank you so much, Chuck, and thank you so much, everyone, for participating. Please give another round of applause for Chuck and for the presentation today. Thank you so much, and please stay tuned for the next AHA seminar series, where we'll bring leading researchers and practitioners of AI in the field to inspire us of what AI could do for human flourishing. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.